Okay, welcome to, what session number are we? 6 or 7 of our Combat Coronavirus 90-day program, which will be probably a little bit longer than 90 days so that everybody could get settled into it. But we've got a hot seat session today, and I'm really excited because beautiful Kylie has agreed last minute to be our hot seat person. So Kylie, the reason I chose Kylie is she has powered through the online portal and done every little lick of a thing that's in there. Every time I put something new up, she's devoured it within 5 minutes, it seems. So she's done a really, really good job of working through that stuff and actually proactively implemented some of the stuff too. So we're going to ask Kylie a few questions in the context of the benefit that she's had out of going through the program, and also give the group the opportunity to ask any questions of me, of her, of each other as well. So thanks, Kylie, for agreeing to do this. So Kylie, give us a bit of a rundown. Tell us about what sort of business you've got, the number of staff, and why did you decide to do this program?
So we are a solar and electrical based company in SA. At the moment, it's just James and I. So I came on board 100% with the company in 2018 after we had our second daughter. James back then was just a sole trader. He was trying to grow something and just drowning. I was working full-time in management. It just wasn't working. So I came on board. I got a really good accountant on board. I organised him, cleaned it all up, and then we grew to a company this time last year. And now we're in the process, I've spoken to Kate before, about taking on some employees. And yeah, so that's where we're at business-wise. And I suppose when COVID-19 came through, it just came through really quickly. We didn't know what the trade industry was going to do. We didn't know if we could work. Should we be working? Is this the end? Like, is this everything we've worked so hard for? Is it over? So I've followed Kate for a while, and I thought, I'm going to get something out of this, absolutely. And I suppose being surrounded by a network of women who are going through exactly the same thing made you feel like it's not going to end, and we will get through it. We just got to think outside of the box to get through it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you were looking for a bit of a combo deal there, a bit of information, a bit of, oh my God, have we got to survive this, a bit of community as well. So,
what is going to happen? That was the biggest thing.
Yeah, yeah. And so what, so you've been in it full time for a little while now. What sorts of things are you doing in the business?
So I do all the back office stuff. So all the invoicing, the quoting, dealing with the accountants, dealing with people not paying, all the computery sort of stuff where James just does all the tools. He does a lot of face-to-face with the customers. I don't really touch base with customers unless it's like via emails for him. But yeah, that's what I do. So I've implemented few strategies because of the course, which are working really well, which has got James off the computer more. So yeah.
Perfect. And is it working well, or?
Yeah, we actually do work really well working together. Sometimes it's like, but yeah, we seem to work well, and yeah, we enjoy it. I enjoy being full-time helping him. So it's sort of like our thing now. So we're growing it for our family. So yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so what is the, what's the sort of plan moving forward for it all?
For the business? Yeah, so we just want to just keep growing, as you mentioned last week, keep being profitable. We want to get some employees on board. James wants to come off the tools a little bit so we can work more on the business, like from the back, not always on the tools. Yeah, just keep growing.
Okay, beautiful. That's great. Stacey's just told me that it says in the events that this is meant to be on tomorrow, not today, but that's interesting. Don't know. I don't know what I've done wrong there. Sorry, Stacey. That's all right. They can watch the recording. Okay. Thanks, Stacey, for bringing that to my attention. So you've worked through all the portal. What's sort of what's the first thing that you've taken away so far from it?
I think it was going back to basics. Like a lot of your stuff, like the Strive and Thrive workshop, your goal planning, all the stuff you had on that with the SMART goals. I think it made you go back, and instead of overthinking it all, it was structured. You could go back to basics within the company. So that's helped heaps, getting a plan in place. We've got we know where we want to go with it, and using the SMART goals, we were able to make the small goals to get to the big goals.
Okay.
And obviously last week's financial one was massive. So I've gone through all the templates. It's, opened my eyes up to a whole new aspects of the business, really.
Oh, awesome. So if we go back to the goals side of things, so you'd mentioned to me, I think we were on Messenger or something somewhere, and you'd sort of said, oh, we've talked about this stuff before, but we've never this has been good to go to that next step. How did you actually sit down, or what did you do to actually get James engaged in the process?
Like you suggested, having a formal type meeting rather than over the kitchen bench. So I sat him down and said, I printed off all your goal planning worksheets. I sat down and said, we got to make a plan. What do you want to do? What do I want to do? And we literally wrote it down, and it helped heaps, because we have conversations over the kitchen bench or over the kids screaming all the time, and then it's just lost. It never gets focused and done. So one of the big ones for me was our website. And because I'd written I wanted to get the website live on the whiteboard, I worked on it every day and then got it done. And it was the best feeling ever, because it's something that I've always wanted to do, but I just was like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. So, yeah.
So did you put an actual timeline on the website, and then
yes.
Did that, or tell us about that?
Yeah. So we put, I had to the end of April to get it done, and I wanted it live by the 1st of May. And I actually did it prior to that, because it was looking at me every day, and I was like, all right, I'll just work on it. And then, we got it live way before my deadline. So
that's so good.
Yeah.
Really great work. And I think that's the thing is, and I might have said it in amongst it all somewhere, where focus goes, energy flows. And so we have all this to-do list rattling around in our heads all the time, it's, or it's on some piece of scrap paper or on the pile, and it's there somewhere, but it's not, like you say, staring you in the face. And I've got the same thing. Oh gosh, I have to get onto that. If it is in front of you, and or in front of the both of you, even more importantly, it does sort of drive and motivate, I suppose, and inspire you. I want to get that done. I want to get that done. And so what sorts of goals did the tradie set? Like, what sorts of things was he interested in delivering?
So he did, it's in front of me. He did, he wanted to do another ticket. So he wanted to bring in his split system course. He wanted to do that on top. He actually wants to do a marketing course. So that was another one of his. And he wants to take on his tradie. So that was his 3. I'm very lucky. James also likes to be very hands-on with everything. So he'll always ask where we're at, and I show him the templates now or the profit and loss report. So
beautiful. So he's got 3 things he's sort of really working towards, and got it all written down and in place. And so tell us about what you took out of the finance module last week.
So I had spoken to you previously about profit and loss. So I'd always look at my profit and loss report, but I never really understood, I knew that we were in profit because the bottom line would tell me, but I never knew how to deep dive. So using that KPI temp spreadsheet, I've got it in front of me now, I filled it all out, and then it was really interesting to see where our percentages were every month. So then now we've set our 2021 goals, and I think I'm right, so tell me if I'm wrong, that we want to have our net profit above 25% every month.
Beautiful.
Is that on the right path?
Yep, that's a really great target. And it again depends on the business around whether a 25% KPI is or is not appropriate. So because every business will do a different profitability, but when you've mapped it out, your business, like you've done in that KPI sheet, you can sort of see, it went down there, it went up there, but around abouts we sit about here. It's about then creating a level of consistency in that number. And that the way we create consistency is through time management, which is really about efficiency, and materials management, which is about waste, and again a bit about efficiency as well. So that's sort of a couple of ways that you can create a bit more consistency, and it's getting ever more out of ever less. And what it helps you also to do is, you're talking about growth with your staff. So you're saying, well, we want to put staff on, but what having that number there will do for you is you'll see that'll probably edge down when you
yeah.
because we've got to remember we lose efficiency when we put a staff member on, because James is going to have to slow down to teach him stuff, or sometimes a few mistakes might happen here or there. As hard as we work on onboarding people, things happen. And so we know generally we go a bit backwards when we onboard. So be ready for that, I suppose.
Yeah.
The other thing is, as business owners, can't feel like, oh my God, we've set the 25% and we didn't hit it, when you've just onboarded somebody.
Yeah.
And so that, especially apprentices usually cost you money in your first little while, well and truly, at least 6 months. They're not very cost effective at all, because you're teaching them a lot of things. So having your 25% there, awesome, beautiful target.
Yeah.
And so is that a bit of a stretch, Kylie, if you look at your numbers, or is that about the middle or the average of where you were? Or
it would be a tiny stretch, but we're around the 22, around the 2022 mark. So it was a small stretch.
Yeah, great. And I mean, percentage to jump from 20 to 25 is big.
Yeah.
So in the scheme of setting a profitability target like that is quite, because when you're dealing with percentages, it's different than talking about, say, increasing revenue as a dollar figure. So it's the compound effect, I suppose, over time. It changes, with percentage. So that's brilliant. So you've nailed that. So well done. Welcome, Steph. Apologies. Apparently this is on for tomorrow, but I know you said your boss has sprung you, because that's all good. So you did the KPI sheet. And what did James sort of take away from that?
Oh, he thought it was great. He could see we had a really terrible January, but we know why. Just things were out of our control. So it was good, because he'd come in and he's like, oh yeah, I know why that was shit, because we knew. And he quite liked to see where we were sitting, because he hasn't had time to deep dive into a profit and loss, and I didn't know where to start. So yeah, it was good. And the other one that's really good is that job profitability spreadsheet.
Yeah,
that is the best thing. Everybody needs to get onto that. It is great.
So tell us about what you learned from that.
It's good to see. So James is very good with his numbers, but I was always interested to see where we were at profitability with jobs. So we've got a big solar job tomorrow, and when you can break it all down, so you put your labour, your cost of goods, everything in there, and it's quite interesting to see where you sit on the total profitability line for every job. So yeah, it's making it easier to forecast into the future.
Right.
So I can see what I've got on the calendar, and I've been doing some figures, and then you can get a more accurate where we're headed type. Yeah.
Awesome. So you've done some historical data, and you've started to look at some of your forward forecasted data with it as well. Yeah.
Just make sure we're on the right track. Then we're sitting pretty good. So we're happy.
Yep. So Steph's just asked the question, were we talking about 22% profitability overall? Yes, Steph. So Kylie's done her KPI spreadsheet that we talked about in finance, and she's looking to stretch their target up to 25%. So that's their 2021 goal, to come up from sort of 20-22% profit. So so that's beautiful. So, and did you happen to map it? I mean, I suppose James is the only one working on the jobs at the moment, isn't he? So it'll be interesting, when you recruit, doing those numbers.
Yeah. We got subbies, so we work really closely with a couple of boys that subcontract to us. So I am interested to see, because obviously I've calculated May and June jobs with the subbies in, but we are very close to taking on somebody. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes with our own employees. So, yeah.
Yep. And I think, when we sort of crunch the sums, a lot of the time there isn't a huge difference between what a subcontractor will cost you versus what an employee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is the interesting thing. And in what we do with clients is we have a look at what a contractor might cost versus what a staff member will cost. And, obviously the out of pocket at the time expense is more for a subcontractor. It feels that way, but by the time you pay your super work cover and all that kind of thing for an employee, actually sort of even out a little bit. And I guess the thing that we're looking for with an employee is consistency and reliability.
Yeah.
Because you can get them, like, because they work for you only. You're not fighting the other Sparkies or solar guys for the time. And so you're paying, I suppose, for that convenience when you bring a staff member on. And you've got to be more careful with your money too, because you've got to have annual leave putting to pay them, and you don't necessarily have that revenue that you're making, but you're paying for them while they're not there, while they're on annual leave. So that's beautiful. So you've done your job profitability spreadsheet, and so I guess did you break it down into industry as well, Kylie, or you just do solar, or did you have some other tabs along your jobs?
In the what? Sorry.
So when you did the job profit spreadsheet.
Oh, my job. My job profitability on jobs. So it's solar and then electrical. Yep,
beautiful. Yeah. And so did you see much difference between the two markets when you looked at the percentages?
Not really. We always thought it was solar and battery, but it's actually not, which is why we've always kept our eggs in both baskets, because normally coming into this time of the year, the solar will slow down because of winter. We're really funny with when the boys get on the roofs and that with wet weather. So we always kept our eggs in the electrical basket, but there's actually not that much of a difference. And we took on your advice with the quoting when I first spoke to you on the phone. Yep. So that's helped as well. So
walk the team through what we talked about on that on the phone call. What was the phone call?
So we were discussing, we were winning majority of our quotes, and Kate suggested to up our pricing so that we didn't win as many quotes, but we were more profitable. Is that right? Yeah. So that's helped. So we've James has upped this pricing a little bit. We're still winning the quotes, and that was a gamble with the situation that we're in, but we thought, let's give it a crack. So we're winning not as many jobs, but it's leveling out. So he's sort of picking and choosing, if that doesn't sound bad.
No,
it should be in this time, but
And so this is all, it's pretty normal behaviour when we sort of implement a price increasing with the trades, because they'll go, and I love it when Damo's on here because the poor man probably feels picked on, but what we look at is if they've made some change, so even if they're doing a bit of picking and choosing, they're still doing it. So be mindful if they have done some pricing increase. Pat, 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 pat. Good dog. Good job. Because if we just go, you're meant to have increased those prices and start getting shitty at them, they won't. They'll just balk at it. So any change is a positive change. So it's all right if they do a bit of picking and choosing for a start. But you kind of got to nurture them to an end date for when, everybody gets that price now. Because what it does, unfortunately, is fucks with our data. And you can almost, when you do that job profit spreadsheet, you'll be able to see the jobs that the tradie's decided he's going to lowball a little bit. And so we can see that, and I go, okay, what's going on here? Clearly this person's your best mate. Why aren't we dealing with this situation over here? And that's where emotion starts to get in the way of it. And they go, but they've been loyal, or what they've got us through this, they've been with us since the start, and that kind of thing. And that's all right. And we empathise with that, and we don't get too hardcore. So just from a coaching perspective, if they are making change, awesome. So it's, you think, I wish he'd just change it straight away. Very rare for him to change straight away. There's some guys I get that are just ruthless, and they go, no, I'm doing it all. Everybody gets the same thing right from now, bang, and it's done. But other guys are a bit more, or I just want to hold off a little bit with that person.
That's James. Or this person's been with me from the start, so and he's gone back through his books to find out the first ever price he gave them. I'm like, oh my God.
And then I go, so it's still the same. Because when you first price something, No love. We've got to change that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting that you've discovered. So we have a gut feel so often about, I reckon one part of the business makes more money than the other. And then we do this activity. So you assumed which one, sorry, was more
Solar. We assume solar and battery, but yeah, it's not necessarily the case.
They're a bit similar.
Yeah.
And so what was the conversation around that when you learned that it was similar?
James went, oh shit, he didn't realize. He honestly thought that, the more in one field he did was more profitable, but it's not necessarily the case. And it's quite interesting. We wouldn't have known unless I deep dived into the stuff that you gave us in the portal. We would have always been on the thought process that the solar was the make all and end all of the business, but it's not. So that was really good to know, especially moving forward, because people's financial situations, we're still not sure what the solar industry will do. Obviously the renewables is massive in Australia right now, but it was good to know that we can shift our marketing towards the domestic commercial electrical, and there is still profitability in there for the future.
And that's massive. So what you've just sort of come to there, and this is just, it's actually one of my favourite things when we start to break down our markets and do this work, because the assumptions that we make, and usually it's because we're basing it on emotion again, is that parts of our business make us more money. But when so many times when I've done this with people and I say, come on, just give me a guess. What do you reckon the order of proceedings is? What's most profitable versus what? And they will write a list, and then they crunch the numbers and they go, holy shit, like you guys, oh my God, like it's nowhere near what we thought. One guy who's just done this a few weeks ago with me, he was like totally off the mark. Off the mark. He thought his domestic work was shit and his insurance work was all about it. No, complete opposite. And so that's, again, like you said, it's about where you then place your marketing efforts. So with that then, Kylie, how did that influence at all how you then went on to do the work on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally pre-COVID-19 and pre-joining you guys, I was like, we were going to design something. I had quoted up somebody to do it based on the solar side of it. But then I had done the website before I'd done the job profitability, but I had done the website purely on solar and electrical, and then I've gone back and altered it a little bit so that both of them are so it's quite clear that we are in both industries or both sectors of the industry. And it's pretty amazing. So
here's a question for you. What does James like better?
To be honest. He doesn't like doing all solar and he doesn't like doing all domestic. You can't really do solar 5 days a week. It's too much on them physically. So he honestly likes to swap. So he'll do a couple of days of solar and then he'll get back in his domestic. He likes to, keep it.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's really good. And so without knowing too much of, the next steps as far as your, what happens in the electrical space, but the next sort of layer of depth, I suppose, is breaking that down a little bit further too, because domestic on its own is more than just domestic. So what sort of, if we were to say, what if you were to break your domestic work down, what sorts of categories would that go to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd have to look into that.
So and good question for everybody who's got a few different arms in their business. There's two questions that I will ask the tradie is, what do you love doing? Like, what do you really, really like? And then the second is around that, what do you reckon makes you the most money? And the sad thing is sometimes the thing they like the most is not the most profitable, but that's where you go, all right, well, you love it. How do we make it the most profitable? And it's about really becoming, because usually when they really love something, they're really awesome at it and the customers can tell. And so when you unpack that and help them understand and then see the figures on it, sometimes because they're very logical beings, they'll go, oh, I really like solar, but put it in the effort bucket because it's not making me enough money. I'm going to go over here because that's where all the money is. Or I'll ask the question, well, if you really like solar but it's not as profitable, what do we do to make it more profitable? So that's a really, when you break your business right down, and so you've broken it down into two, then I mean, solar probably could go into domestic commercial as well, would it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So that's just something to think about, Kylie, not to put you on the spot, but it's then going, well, I wonder, even going that next step, because it might be rewires of old renovated houses, as an example, that you break your domestic side down into, or it could be light installation or automation. Like Sparkies do all sorts of crazy shit in the domestic world. What is it that you're doing lots of in there that also seems to be fetching a better price, or that we could be fetching a better price for?
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, so it's a really, see you, Steph, it's a really, that's sort of the next layer, but you've already got a lot of rich info from just breaking it down into the two, because you've gone, oh, okay, well, the weighting that we put on our website is now 50-50. It's not going to be, we are the solar experts, it's we are electrical experts. And these are the two areas that we work in. So that's pretty amazing. What else have I got in here? So I've kind of gone through that question around, you know, what are some of the changes that you've made? Is there any other things that you've sort of worked through or taken away that have really made you go, oh, I'm doing that differently?
I think, probably just that at the moment is all I can think of.
No, that's perfect. Stacey's going to drop off too. She's got some homeschooling. From here, obviously we've got more topics, and we've really just put you right in this hot seat right early on. It'll be interesting to, you know, find out what else you implement over time. If there's sort of one thing that you mentioned the job profits spreadsheet, but what's the thing that if you were to say to all these girls and boys on the call here, do that thing and do it as soon as you can, what would it be so far?
Honestly, I think the KPI spreadsheet, if that would be probably the biggest thing. If people aren't quite sure where they're sat percentage-wise on what they're spending, where their money's going, that it really opens your eyes. I think we think we've briefly spoken before. You've touched base on how important it is to do invoicing. So there is another thing that we have implemented. I don't let James start a new week unless all of our invoicing and quoting for the previous week is done. So he knows if he doesn't want to do it on Friday night, it's may as well do it, because I'm just going to be on his case about it till Sunday. And it's really helped with and getting your figures, because I know that we don't have any invoices that I haven't sent off. So like the boys are out there tonight, I've got it all set up. When they come home, they'll do their compliance certificates, it's invoiced, it's done. I think that really helps as well. And then you'll be able to get your figures right and really see where you're at. And the goal setting, definitely.
And so with now that James has sort of seen the importance, because of that KPI setting around the invoicing and quoting and cycling that through, and because you've then teamed that up with your job profit stuff, and you've got a forecast for your job profit moving forward. What was the click moment for him, do you reckon, or what happened that he went, oh, okay, I'm happy to do it by Friday night? Because is it just about the position because you can see, or what was it?
I think for him it's the workload. I think he said to me the other day, it is nice being able to know he starts Monday morning. He goes into his folder that I set up with all of his day jobs, but he knows everything's done. So he doesn't have that cloud on his head like, crap, I've got to, check that quote, or I've got to write that down. We're just constantly organized. And I just think that makes the world of difference. I mean, I'm an OCD organized person anyway, which drives him nuts, but I honestly think it helps, because he doesn't have that cloud like, crap, I've got to do this and this. And then we're not worried about cash flow, because everyone's pretty good, except for that one company, at paying their bills. So we've got constant income coming in. It's working. So
yeah. And so do you find there's much more of this up and down, less of this up and down?
Absolutely.
Doing that bank balance finance where, oh my God, the bank balance is getting low, so we better invoice. Oh, we're good now, so I'll stop invoicing.
No.
You don't
see that at all. No, because like I said, we invoice weekly. Obviously, some jobs are bigger, so we did a big 30 kilowatt commercial job. I didn't get to invoice that week because it followed over. Obviously there's things like that come into it. But yeah, and definitely by the end of the month, I always make sure everything's squared away. So we know exactly where we were sitting for April, and we're starting on the clean base for May.
Perfect. So when did you start doing that? Like, how long ago did you make this routine?
When I came on board, really, because he was, the cash flow was like that when he was doing it all by himself, because he wasn't invoicing, he wasn't doing anything. And then probably the last 3-4 months, I've really been like, we've got to do this, because otherwise it's just, the account goes to like nothing. And then you send out 20 invoices and customers don't appreciate being invoiced, months down the track for work we did back here. They want to be on the ball. But yeah, that's just my personal take on it.
And so did you notice any change in the interaction with the customers when you were being more consistent? Did they, what did you notice?
Yeah. People were just happier. They were getting back to us. I think I don't know if it's because it looks more professional. I don't know, but it just seemed, everything just sort of started picking up. Everything become more positive. There was a lot more,
And it's amazing that we don't necessarily recognise the detriment we're creating by not doing something so simple as sending an invoice out in a timely manner. Because it actually totally, because we've got to remember, they're our customers, and I think I said something this morning around, basically we're being interviewed for the job, and the way that we behave throughout the course of the relationship is jeopardizing that job. Yes, we're contractors to that organisation or to that client, and we're contracting our time and our resources to them, but they're absolutely gauging their ongoing or not relationship with us by the consistency, the reliability, the level of flexibility that we create and support them with. Because this is the thing about trades industry. They're sort of the three things that most, especially commercial or builders, are looking for. They're looking for reliability and consistency, but also have they got enough flex in their business that if something goes wrong on my end, they can flex with us. And that's one thing I'd say for all businesses that are looking to grow or going through growth is there's this awkward space, and you're about to discover it, Kylie, where you've had your subbies. The 1 to 2 guys can work pretty all right because you can either split them off and go and do a job each, or they work on the job together. This is not just for Sparkies, this is in any industry. So they've got a big job, they can work together. If they've got smaller jobs, they can go off together. 3 starts to get awkward because, and it's, I can send 2 together and then there's 1, but that means I've got to always have 2 jobs on the go, 1 of size and 1 small, and it's this funny little space. 4 starts to be better, but it forces the tradie back out onto the tools usually because they're in teams of 2, especially if they're doing the heavy lifting. 5 is the sweet spot, I've got to say, because tradie starts to do more marketing or selling and, they're still out on the tools if they need to be, and they're still out coordinating and getting shit happening. But for anything below 5, just my observation is it's awkward. Because the tradie is trying to feed everybody if it's at 4, but they're being sucked out as well still out there because the jobs need an extra set of hands, or it's hard to have a big job and a small job on the go because you got to squeeze in small jobs to keep them going while the others are on the big job. And sometimes the big jobs aren't big enough for 3 of them. And maybe they haven't got enough work to quote if there's 3 of them, and so it just gets a bit strange. So that's just part of the growing pains of it all, though. And this is the thing, people go, and all the businesses I work with, transitioning them through each of those steps, they go, but I thought putting on an extra person was going to cure this problem. I said, no, we never said that. We would create more space if you had 2 for you to come back into the office, but then you've generated all this work that you need another bloke, and you end up getting sucked back out again while you're onboarding that person. So it's growing pains. But every business has got to go through a period of growth and then consolidation.
Yeah.
So I don't like to see any business, I'm getting off track here a little bit, but for those of you who are looking at putting staff on, that's a growth phase, but you need to consolidate that. Because what happens through that growth is things break. So your processes get screwed. You're onboarding somebody, so the way you're working in your space as the bosses changes as well while you're getting that person up to speed. The type of work sometimes transitions and changes, but you've got to give yourself enough breathing space to do the consolidating. And at minimum, honestly, sometimes that's 2 to 3 months of just flatlining for a bit, where you get used to that again, and then you go again.
Yeah.
So that's just something to think about too. Has anybody out there got any questions for Kylie? She's been a wealth of info. It's been excellent to hear all of the great change. Give me a wave or type something in the chat box if you've got any questions for Kylie or for me on any of those things we've just been talking about. Something in the, Christy said that's a great idea. Oh, I missed which bit that was.
About starting the week fresh.
Oh, yeah.
We do, my husband does, gets up early every day, and I have everything ready for him, and he does can you hear me okay? Yeah. So every morning he does it, but if one or two he doesn't get invoiced, then that builds up. So then the following week. But if I just, make sure that Friday he does everything, so we start fresh, because then you get overwhelmed, I think. So that's a great idea. Yeah. I did have a quick question in regard to what do you enjoy doing, asking the tradie that. Then what if people call up and they, and it's something they don't enjoy doing, or they don't, it's not profitable. What's the best way to kind of, get rid of that?
Yeah, good question. So it's always, because you want to be seen as helpful at all costs. And so always have a fallback guy. So all my clients have got the guy they refer the work they don't want to. So if it's chippy work and one of my clients has got we don't do anything under $10,000 rule, then that work goes to this smaller chippy who's getting going. And so you've got to have somebody that you can rely on and that you trust, because they'll go, oh, well, that's helpful, and this person's not patch protecting, so yeah, I'll hand that work. He's happy to hand, or he or she are happy to hand that work on to the other person. It also is a very goodwill, because that smaller guy that you might be passing off to, or the person that likes that work, may well do the same for you moving forward. There's jobs, most tradies have got their own little network, a little bit of an incubator of, we palm off work. Oh, they've asked if I know a chippy, but I'm a smart sparky, so I'll pass it off to them. Or they usually have their own little network around them. So it's about making yourself useful, Christy, and referring to somebody that can actually help them.
So I have been doing that, but then they're like, oh, I've called him and he's not available, or, So,
it's a challenge. So in that case, maybe having a couple up your sleeve is helpful. So, and look, everybody's super busy.
Yeah.
The thing I would say to your referee, the people you're referring to, is I think you need to up your price, or you need to do something because you're not available enough.
Okay.
Because this is the thing, it's all a kick-on effect that we have to remember, and this is what gets me up and about and passionate about helping the trades industry, is we need to up the ante across the board. And so if you're a bigger business, electrician, plumber, cleaning company, whatever, and there's the sorts of work that you're growing out of because you've put your big boy and big girl pants on and you're starting to say no to shit work, then the game has to change for the people that are coming up behind you. So I truly believe in mentoring to a degree in that space. If we'd all thought that way instead of seeing each other as competition all the time, it will change the game significantly. Because if the little guy ups his prices, then guess what? Yours are going up too. And the whole industry starts to lift. So, I mean, I know I carry on like a 2-bob watch about the price increase thing all the time, but You got to do it. Like, we've all got to do it. And it was interesting, just one little thing I picked up out of what you were saying earlier, Kylie. You're like, oh, even though times are the way they are, we still increased our prices. Bloody oath.
Yeah, it was.
Now's the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because if people are going to pay you at that level now, what are they going to pay you when they got money again?
Yeah, that's true.
So you can keep upping the ante. And you know, you've got to expect, everybody, it tends to expect an increase in prices at some point. And at a minimum, just to survive with the way that prices increase across the board, minimum 3% every year you need to be nudging up. Now, some people, when they get to me, they go, I say, oh, when did you last increase your prices? And they go, oh, a couple of years ago. And I go, fucking hell. Oh, okay, love, when can we do it? And they go, oh, yeah, right, I'll do it. And it still takes me 5-6 months. So we're already behind the 8 ball. So if they can just watch maybe I need to do a video every day, increase your fucking prices. So then by the time they work with me, it's like, oh, good, you increased them 6 months ago. That's awesome. Are you ready to go again? Because I think we've just got a responsibility in the industry to keep doing it for each other. So I think I went off track there, Christy. Did I answer your question?
Yes, a couple actually. He struggles with that whole price conversation. So yeah, we are a year from not increasing because we live in a small town, and he says you can't really do that, you know. He's a hard one to coach.
So, well, he is and he isn't. So the thing is, we can say, yes, okay, but eventually they pants themselves in a coaching session because they go, oh, I had a client say to me the other day that I should increase my prices, and I go, caught, right, we're doing it. You've sprung. Because I promise you there's clients out there, and I hope Damo nods, that are saying, oh, mate, you should increase your prices. Or I've been waiting for you to increase your prices. Why haven't you done it yet? And he's saying no. They don't say that. Well, get rid of those clients because they're tight asses. But essentially, somewhere along the line, commercial's a shitty space. They're not going to do it in commercial. But domestic especially, they know. Like, you're a small business owner. I don't go to the pie shop for 10 years and expect to still be paying $1.50 for me pie with sauce 10 years later. So they come along, Christy. It takes a little bit of time, but that's why these numbers, if you haven't done them yet, are so powerful, and Kylie can probably attest to that, is when they start seeing profitability and they go, you can see the ones where they've done the pick and choose. So did you see that in your sheet, Kylie?
Absolutely. I know his customers that he does it to, because it's just a little remarks he makes when I'm quoting. I've got one I got to do this afternoon. He's like, oh, that's the old downlight price too. And I'm like, oh.
Yep.
So I know it's an old customer.
Yeah. So you've got to go on the old downlight price. But now he's going to see what it's doing to his...
And I will be showing him. I've actually got my job profitability sheet up to do a comparison. So as soon as he gets home, he'll be looking at it.
I'm looking forward to it actually, because I did the KPI spreadsheet this morning.
Yeah.
And I start to see, I've more data entered so far, but I'm looking forward to going back and seeing these trends. And because he's very numbers like, if I give him the numbers in an easy way, he can absorb. And
that's the thing. That's why I ended up developing all this. Really, sorry, this is just me like putting the arms up the tradies' backs a little bit, because you can't. They're not interested in your emotions, ladies. They do not give a shit about you being emotional. So don't come with some, oh, there's no money in the bank. Oh, darling, but you're working so hard and you should be paid more for what you do. They don't connect to it. They're just like, what, fucking whatever. Like, I thanks, love, but I'm not interested in hearing that. Whereas if you say you are running a profitability of like 12%, and Kate said today we should be aiming for 20, changes the conversation, because they're like, well, how come we're only 12 but we're supposed to be 20? Or our industry says this percentage of labour according to the ATO. They've got something to work, and like most of my guys want to know how all the other clients are going. They're like, oh, how's old mate going with such and such? Because they're competitive. They've got to beat their chest and they've got to win. So if you start to do some benchmarking with yourselves for a start, you've got ATO data. Absolutely, you're so spot on, Christy. It's about showing the numbers.
Yeah.
Because they do love it. So good on you for getting started.
Yes. I hope today I'll finish it today. I will finish it today.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to ask you next week how you got on.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, so thanks so much for that, Kylie. It's amazing. Let me just mute you, Christy. You're right. What I might do is do a quick whip around and hear any takeaways that we've had from people. So I'll start with you, Belinda. What are you taking away from today?
It's that the KPI spreadsheet is really interesting. I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to go and do that right now, actually, and just see how we're going. Yeah, no, this is my first session on this, like, live, so it's good, because usually I'm watching the playback and you go, oh, and then you forget, what you're going to ask, whatever. So this is good doing it on the day.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, everything you say is spot on. I know exactly what you're saying, but I've just got to get it in my head and put it in terms of our business sort of thing. So that's my biggest thing, I guess, is putting it in the right boxes for us.
Context. Yeah. And that's the thing. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's about, because obviously everything, and we know Kylie's got an electrical solar business, but it's then like flipping that back to the context of your own business, and how that works in your context. Okay, Christy, what are you taking away?
For so long, it's been in the back of my mind. I wanted to just get a bit more strategy on the jobs we are doing, seeing, we can not pick our work, but just from that. And I'm going to go and do the breakdown of job profitability. But, and then, work out from there, I guess. And,
Awesome.
Makes it a bit easier to work
out.
It
does. That's right. Thanks, Christy. And I think it was really, I feel like we could have almost staged that conversation. It was so beautiful, Kylie, when I was like, so did it change the way you decided to market in the context of the website build? And you're like, yes. I'm like, that's awesome, because that's exactly how it should be. We want to use data to decide on how we're going to position ourselves in the market, because without that, you were going to plaster solar everywhere. Is that right?
Yeah, we thought that's where we were most profitable. Like, we're pretty good on our profit loss and numbers and that, but until you really break your business down, we were blown away that, our electrical side was on par with what we thought was our big money maker. Yeah. So it changed the game completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
That's perfect. It actually couldn't have been more perfect, because there's two ways you go about that. If it's on par, is you either go, oh, okay, so maybe we're underdoing our solar, so we'll nudge that up, or no, we're pretty happy with our how we're quoting and how we're cranking over our profit, so we're gonna make it across the board like you've chosen. And that's the other thing about breaking things down even further. You might set two separate KPIs, some businesses, so especially one like yours, Belinda, where your pipe cleaning could likely be a much more profitable avenue than, say, general domestic plumbing. Like, there's, depending what's happening in each business, you might set two KPIs that says we want to get this much out of this part and this much out of this part, and run that way. So that's pretty cool. Okay, Ren and Damo, what are you taking away, guys?
For me, it was really what you were talking about in the growth period, like, and how that sort of levels off again, like 2 or 3 months sort of working it out. Like, we're sort of in a real growth period at the moment. We're just stuck, don't really know what to do or how to do it, and just sort of like hearing other people and you speak about the way that you do that and how it sort of works is a bit like, okay, cool. Sort of.
Oh, you've got to have a breather, guys.
Yeah. And breaking down the job profitability. I'm really, really keen to get into that.
Awesome. Beautiful. What about you, Damo? You poor love, get picked on these?
No, that's okay. I guess with the pricing, because I do all the pricing, just lately, I've been more and more, I've been picking and choosing my margins for customers, and it seems to be working pretty good, whereas I always had a flat margin.
Yeah.
But certainly now, some people get a lot of pega tax and others don't, you know, and it seems to be working, so
Yeah.
it's a good strategy.
Yeah, and I think, and I should be a bit more mindful around that. At the moment, we do have to sort of just watch what's happening a bit. So what you're talking about there, Damo, is actually conversion rate. So
That's right.
yeah, so it's going, what's our conversion rate doing in the context of what's happening right now globally, really? Because I want everybody to be watching their conversion rate like a hawk at the moment, because if we're dropping the ass out of our conversion rate, then we need to have a look at what's going on with our pricing without being stupid about it. Because like there's some jobs we need to actually be walking away from at the moment, because you can't go too low or you're going to unstitch yourself. So that's a really good point. Thanks for bringing that up, because it is all right to pick and choose a little bit, but the next question I've got is, if you two want to go on a romantic holiday to Hawaii when the borders open again, is how do you be consistent in that if you were to hand it over to somebody else? That's the next sort of little thing to unpack, is because if you use the Damo theory, you guys are frozen.
But I'm spending more time with, it's hard, we're so busy to do all the stuff we're talking about, but certainly making it a much clearer process for quoting, because, we have kitchens which can have so many components, and then just having a margin on all the sub-trades that we have, much this margin, and quite to the point where everyone has the same margin on top of our costings, and then maybe the commercials will be anyone comes back from there or something.
Yep. Spot on. Yeah. So that's. It sounds like you guys are starting to unpack how that process is going to work moving forward, and because you want to build it so that somebody else can be doing it. And having a system and a process around that's really important.
So we just got some new software for the drawing.
Oh, good. Do you mind me asking what it was? Is it CAD software, or what's the program?
It is CAD software, and essentially the pricing, but it's so much set to cover material, the pricing, margins, like a complete system.
Ooh. I didn't catch half of that.
Just
you guys are breaking up a little bit. I might have to ask you offline, because it's sort of, we're losing you. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right. But thank you so much for your input there. That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Kylie. You've been absolutely fabulous. And I know everybody watching this back's going to be like, ooh, all inspired to get their stuff done. Because, it's been huge to listen to. It's the difference between signing up to a course and going, oh, that's awesome, I've done that. I've signed up to the course and actually implementing the stuff. So I'm thrilled for you that's made such an impact. Well, that makes me excited, because that's all I want is for you guys to, actually, see the improvement in your business. What total amount of time have you probably spent on all of that to get those results?
Oh, I spend bits and pieces every day. Like, I'm always chipping away at it, especially the stuff that you had about job descriptions and the missions and the values. Yeah, I chip away at it all the time.
Yeah.
But and I'm always constantly going back and re-watching videos or re-getting out your spreadsheets and stuff like that. And so, yeah.
Beautiful. No, that's awesome. Congrats. You've done a brilliant job. You should be super proud of yourself. And James as well, tell him he's doing a good job. So, and we appreciate you sharing all that info with us. So thanks for joining us, guys. Have an awesome Arvo, and we'll see you back next week. Bye. Thanks.